Look, Noah. Oh, Mama got her diabetes supplies in. So I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes about 5 years ago now, in 2018. I was actually going to the doctor because I had a urinary tract infection, and the doctor told me, I don't know how to tell you this, but I'm pretty sure that you have type 1 diabetes and you need to go to the hospital like right away. Like, this is very serious. And so then I was in the ICU for nearly 4 days. From there, that kind of began my learning journey with type 1.
Yeah, the lows are the hardest. I think it's really difficult to try sometimes to be calm. I start getting hot. I can start to feel shaky. You're kind of like, what? I'm feeling kind of cloudy, a little funky. And then I think once I really start feeling shaky, that's when I'm like, oh, okay, this is my sugar. It truly is the balancing act. And I can tell you that during those lows, having Oscar here is such a relief. He keeps me calm. However, I have gotten down into the 40s, and that's a really scary place to be, especially when my husband Oscar is not here and it's just me and the baby, and I'm just trying to get some juice and focus on feeling better. And a lot of times that means stopping what you're doing. You need to sit down and just rest for a minute and kind of take it easy. And having a 11-year-old running around, that can be difficult sometimes. And sometimes he's crying at me, and I have to let him cry because I have to take care of my body.
The lows in the middle of the night, those are pretty scary. 3 in the morning, and I'm trying to call her, and she's sleeping with the baby and she's not answering the phone. I feel like we have it. Like, that's the way I feel. I'm like, we have type 1 diabetes. And
then just throughout the day, just making sure, or even being conscious of it whenever we're having meals. If we're having a carby meal, talking about it and saying like, hey, how many carbs do you think this is? How much insulin should I put in first, and then try to not put too much in. Just little things like that I guess I don't think about as not being normal, but I'm sure that if it was a couple that's never, and they were around us, they'd be like, oh wow, y'all do that. And that does happen sometimes when people are around us. They're like, do y'all do that every time? And they're like, yeah, actually we do. We never really think about it, but yeah. But yeah, it's just normal now.
And then my husband and I got pregnant, and I'm not gonna lie, it was the hardest thing that I have ever done. And I mean, just throughout that whole process, I was just always so afraid of my sugar getting too high, because that could have given my son a heart problem.
It brought the best in us out, and we kept, that's probably the 9-month span that her sugar has been the absolute best at.
So growing up with my mother that was type 1 diabetic, it was actually pretty stressful sometimes. Like, I felt like there was times where I felt like I had to take care of her. There was a few times where, like, obviously, like, her blood sugar got too high or too low. Those were like traumatizing experiences, like to where she ended up in the hospital and stuff like that. Or, most people don't have to deal with that with their, parents.
It's not just me. It's my son, it's my husband, it's my mom, my dad. It's everybody's involved at that point. Everybody that cares about me. That's a very deep personal issue that I have to deal with. And sometimes it's hard to not beat yourself up. I think that's been one of my biggest challenges as well, is letting in other people to take care of me.
I feel like our relationship got like closer, if anything. Like she knew like almost to like it was okay to be vulnerable, if that makes sense, and that it's okay to like have a disease that is not curable.
Some of my biggest worries, I think most of my biggest worries are long term.
Whenever you don't take care of your sugar, whenever you run those highs, days and days on end, it will affect you long term. There's so many complications that can arise from this disease. I mean, I can tell you I also have, besides the skin problem, I have also lost a tooth because of high blood sugar.
Well, trying not to think about it and trying not to worry about things that we can't control right now. But yeah, the emotion behind knowing that later on in life that is how this disease may impact her and how it might get her to suffer or whatever, go through things that I wish I could help or I could take some of that burden, but I know I can't. That's life. But yeah, that part of it, thinking long term and just every decision we make. Sometimes it's a selfish reason, having a dessert, having whatever, is like, I hope this doesn't come back and bite us in the butt later on, which it will.